Welcome to Valley's Gold, a show where we explore the people and places who feed and clothe us. On this episode, we learn about a crop that's been around for over 7,000 years. From farm to table, we'll see what it takes to grow garbanzo beans, also called chickpeas. So join me, Ryan Jacobsen, on this adventure.
Valley's Gold is produced through a partnership between the Fresno County Farm Bureau and Valley PBS. Production funding for Valley's Gold is provided by
the Myers Water Bank and Wildlife Project, an educational outreach program working to teach students about water and wildlife issues in California. Field trips are free for all schools, and each trip's curriculum is based on learning about California water resources, valley agriculture, and native wildlife.
Everyone enjoys getting together to laugh, to talk, and mostly to eat. It sounds so simple, but the reality is that it takes a lot of hard work to feed us. The next time you sit down to eat, remember to thank our farmers, Gar Tutelian Incorporated since 1949 at 800-696-6108.
Heroes come in all shapes and sizes. At Brandt, our heroes are the men and women in the field, the folks who work hard to put food on our tables. Join us in celebrating the Valley's real heroes. Brandt, professional agriculture.
I've been joined by Dan and Gina Rudberry. Dan and Jean, thanks for having me out today.
You're welcome.
Dan, can you begin by telling me about this family operation?
Well, it's an old family farmer operation. We started with my great uncle in the late 20s, and then in the late 40s my dad came over from Europe, and my two brothers and I and my mother continued the farming to what you see today. And it's a diverse operation of almonds, pistachios, wine grapes, and garbanzos.
Why garbanzos? I mean, out of all that crop mixture, garbanzos is a very interesting one to have.
Yeah, it's a new crop for us in the last number of years, and it works well because we're under drip irrigation, and because we use the same bed or permanent beds for 5 to 7 years, we can rotate garbanzos with our tomatoes and other crops, and it works very well.
Well, Gene, we're here to learn about the growing process. I know there's a couple different kinds of varieties of garbanzo beans, but what are they and when are they planted?
Well, we got two different varieties that we plant. Depends who we're selling them to. And one of them variety we plant is in the fall, around that November area. The other ones we plant in February. After that, then we pretty much irrigate them with our drip irrigation that we have.
Got it. So when it comes to planting the garbanzo bean, is it the actual bean we see itself, or is there something else? Or is a seed you put into the ground?
There's an actual bean that we plant that is the seed, and then there's an inoculant that we put in there with it. And we actually plant them with our old cotton planters, which is not something that we don't have to retool for. And the beauty part about it is once we get done with it, we harvest it with conventional combines like you do with grain. So it's a lot of the same equipment is incorporated on growing this crop as well as others.
Got it. Okay. And when you talked about the timing of when they go into the ground and when it starts to come up, when it comes to the growing pressures of them, many insect susceptibilities or other weeds?
We have a pre-emergent herbicide that we put down, and then that pretty much takes care of it. Then once we get enough canopy on there, the shading competition keeps from any spring weeds from germinating coming up.
Got it. And when it comes towards that near harvest time, what makes a garbanzo bean look like it's ready to be harvested?
No, they have to be dry. You know, just like what you see if you buy a dry bag of beans, that's what it looks like in the field. And then once they combine it, they take it to a warehouse and they clean it out. And from there, they either sell it to people who can them or make hummus with them.
More recently, you're doing some fresh garbanzo beans, which is something that's very unique, I think, even new for you guys to be a part of that.
That's correct. With one company, that's what they do. They also sell the dry, but they have a new niche coming where they're selling them as green type of a hummus, or they sell them down to the Hispanic market where they're actually in pods and stuff, and it's almost like their version of an edamame. They eat those things green and they flavor them and they season them and stuff. So the market's really kind of expanding on this, which is really good.
And there's two types of harvesting techniques when it comes to the green versus the dry. Could you explain those differences?
Yeah, the green, it's a machine that actually strips. They leave all the stems and everything in and they strip them. Some of them, they'll shell them into individual green beans.
Wow.
Other ones, they'll strip them and actually be into pods. And once that market is filled for what they're going to use it for, then the rest of it just pretty much goes through its cycle, dries down, and becomes that yellow bean that you see in a bag, and it's harvested with a combine.
We refer to it as a bean, so you're harvesting it when it's fairly dry. How far in advance do you need to cut the water to really get that moisture down?
Well, what we do, we actually look at the plant, and then it grows in stages. So you have pods that start from the bottom and kind of work their way up on the plant. We'll cut the water off, they'll finish, and then it sits there for about maybe 6 weeks to 8 weeks, and then it'll all be dry, and then the combines will come and harvest it.
And then Dan, I'm going to wrap this up with you. When it comes to those time when it's leaving the field, where does your products end up?
Well, they either go off into to the green harvest garbanzos like CaliFresh, and then we let the field continue drying out, and they're harvested with a combine. They go off into a warehouse for canning garbanzos.
And this is the actual cans you'll buy from the supermarket.
Exactly right.
And there's just so many, again, we talked about all the different uses, but I think that's what the versatility of this bean is, that you actually have so many different opportunities to be able to store it for long use.
You can, and so allows the regulation of the product into the market without damaging it.
Yeah.
And so that helps out preserving the garbanzo being grown in this area.
Well, Dan and Gene, thank you so much for having me out to Errotabere Ranches. Obviously very informative. We love our chickpeas and we've learned so much about the growing of it. Now I got to go see how they're processed.
Yeah, well, that's the uniqueness of this valley. You can grow lots of different things.
Oh, great. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
I've traveled to Sanger to learn how garbanzo beans make it from the field to the processing facility and the many products we make from them. I've been joined by Morgan Murray as well as Sarah Dean. Morgan and Sarah, thanks for having me out to Sanger today.
Thanks for being here.
I'm excited to learn about garbanzos. And Morgan, I want to start with you. We're here at CaliFresh. What is CaliFresh?
CaliFresh is a fresh garbanzo harvesting, processing, shipping operation.
And Morgan, we were talking earlier, the one thing that I loved is you were sharing the history of the garbanzo bean with me. And garbanzo, chickpea, it's the same crop, but a very rich history. Explain a little bit of that to me.
Well, garbanzo is the Spanish word for the chickpea. The Arab word for chickpea is hummus. That's why we get the name hummus for that recipe that's very popular with the consumer.
That is incredibly interesting. How did you get so involved with beans, and particularly garbanzo beans? What's your history in this industry?
Well, my history was out of college. I took a position with a company that originated dried beans in California. And at that time in 1976, there were only maybe 600 acres of garbanzos grown in California. In 1981, we discovered that you could grow this crop and it would withstand the cold temperatures of our winters here in San Joaquin Valley. San Joaquin Valley has Mediterranean climate, so we thought it would work. And we were able to get the crop from a 600 acre in 1981 to almost 27,000 acres in 1999.
Absolutely, and so we're talking about the distinctive harvesting of these crops. It's done two different ways between the fresh and the dry. Can you explain those two processes to me?
Well, the fresh harvest is done while the plants are still in their green state. They're not dried down. So we're harvesting a product that's 90-95% moisture, and we have to capture that quality at that moment and then preserve it for the consumer. Now, the dry harvest is the crop completely dries down after this stage, and then it's harvested using a combine. That product is taken to processors.
And Sarah, this is a family operation and you help run this facility that we're in right now. When it comes in from the field, what is the next step for these beans?
Well, the trucks come in before the sun comes up so that they can stay as cold as possible, and we offload them on a conveyor outside the building where they can be inspected upon arrival, and then they're lifted into the facility into special equipment so that we could sort out any rachis or leaves from the field, and we can just preserve the whole lovely bean to be packed in our boxes, and then they're brought into cold storage, and then they're going to be put onto our special packing line where they can be sorted for color, and any additional debris can be taken out by our hand sorters.
And absolutely, and you talk about the importance of keeping this cool. I mean, it is a perishable crop. We're talking green here, so that that temperature is really critical to making sure you keep that color and everything else so fresh on these.
We do pack it as quickly as possible. It's very important to get them into our modified atmosphere bags ASAP.
And that's, again, it's such, I think it would be a surprise for so many of our viewers that there is fresh garbanzo beans available. We see these gorgeous packages around us here, and so there is a clientele out there that really desires this product, and you're hoping to really expand that.
Right. Traditionally, these are enjoyed mostly by Mediterranean. People from India are very familiar with the crop, and central Mexico. Only seasonal. When that crop was just right there, they would eat that once a year. They'd have it for a couple of weeks, and then they'd have to wait till the next year. And we've really been able to take that crop and give it to them year round, which is awesome.
And Sarah, if I ended up with some fresh garbanzo beans, I heard you had some recipes on your website. What are some of those?
People will eat them several different ways. They'll just peel them and eat them raw, or they'll kind of sear them and put salt on them and pop them out of the pod like edamame.
Again, this is my first time to actually see the fresh garbanzo bean, and so actually opening it up, it's a single pod with that single bean inside, and it's the same size as the ones that you're used to getting probably from the canned side, but it's a green color.
It's green, and would you like to look at one here?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it comes in a little pod like this.
And a little bit of fuzz on it, but it's a big old pod and has a Any right way to open these? Just
actually, there is. If you, let me show you here. If you just kind of pop the tip open like that and then pinch it out, it'll be right
comes
there.
right out.
It does come right out.
And one thing I love about this, there's kind of a sweetness to it that's just
Absolutely.
different.
Sweetness, nuttiness, and fresh.
I think a lot of folks know the garbanzo obviously because of the canned side, but also because of the hummus side, and you guys also do that.
We do.
And so I'm so excited about this product because this is unique. This is something that you won't, I don't think a lot of folks have probably tasted a fresh garbanzo.
In 2014, we rolled out Sarah's Harvest. We had 3 flavors,
and you are the Sarah.
I am Sarah.
I love talking to a person that has their own brand.
It's fun. It's very fun. Yeah, and I mean, this guy, his partners had so much to do with it. It was not a one-person thing at all. Very collaborative. Everybody's very excited and loves this product very much. And so we're excited to get it out to the consumer so that they can have a different experience with hummus.
And you have several different types, which I was really intrigued by.
Yes. I have an original recipe, which is our plain, and cilantro jalapeno, which is our favorite.
Wow.
Yes. It's 3 to 1. It's a favorite. And then roasted garlic with rosemary. Those are our 3 flavors that we're working with right now.
Well, Morgan, Sarah, thank you so much to really enlightening me about an industry that I knew was in California, but didn't know a whole lot about, and I'm so excited to be here to learn about fresh garbanzo beans.
Thank you for coming out.
Thank you for coming out.
Appreciate it.
All right.
California agriculture produces a bounty of crops, but it doesn't mean anything unless we can transport it. With me, I have Elizabeth Laval of the Pop Laval Foundation. Elizabeth, thanks for once again joining me.
Oh, Ryan, this is always the best segment. I love being part of this.
Absolutely. I'm so excited because this is the history of transportation, and you got some incredibly gorgeous photos to share with me.
That is right, because what we were doing, a lot of people, we've been talking for years about how we grow things and then how things are packed, but we haven't talked a lot about how it gets from one place to another.
And it doesn't mean anything if you can't get it to the supermarket.
So I'm going to open up the album. Pop Laval took over 100,000 photos in his career, and a lot of them were of transportation types.
That's awesome.
But we can't go to horsepower yet. We have to go way back to mule power. And you can see in this photo from 1914, the Associated Oil Company tanker number 64, horse-drawn, of course. In 1914, a gallon of gas would set you back. How many cents do you think?
I don't know. You're talking probably 20, 30, 25 cents?
No, 12 cents.
12 cents?
But that's actually $2.92 in 2016, so not too different than it actually has been.
But just a little bit of an irony of mules pulling gasoline.
Yes.
So.
Well, they weren't into the horsepower thing yet.
Absolutely.
This is one of people go, ew, but you know what? This is how it was. This is the city meat market in Sanger with the delivery truck. In 1890, ice or electric refrigeration was unheard of in Sanger. At the W.P. Friends City Meat Market, carcasses, as you can see, were hung out each night to cool during the summer months and then delivered, quote unquote, fresh to the customers' homes. Yum, right?
It doesn't get much fresher than that.
No, it does not. Now we're going to go up in the hills a little bit. Here you see this white truck with this big log, and only one log at a time could be carried on this white truck as it left the Routs Mill and headed down the grade. Drivers had to have a lot of confidence in those who loaded and chained this cargo. There were no barriers placed between them and their multi-ton load. Look at that guy.
You talk about confidence.
He's
I don't even
going
have confidence
down.
looking at that picture.
No, this makes me nervous every time I see it. And when you blow it up to life size,
yeah,
you feel like, oh my God, this guy's going to get hit. Now we have it going the other direction, another white truck. Trucks were also sometimes used for carrying boards from the mills to the flume heads. This is also from 1919. So we have a ton of hydroelectric power plants, and we have dams, and we have man-made lakes like Shaver, Huntington. But what we never think about really are how are all those materials got up the mountain. Yep. And here you can see this truck was taking cement up to Auberry.
Wow.
That had to be quite a load. Here you see a penstock. This would have been used in probably somewhere like Kirchhoff or something like that around 1920. Think about all these projects and how they had to haul those materials all the way up to 7,000 or even 8,000 feet.
They didn't just magically appear.
It's something substantial,
yeah,
for sure. Here we have our representation of Mack Truck's 1920 style.
Yep, yep.
This is everyone's favorite picture with the People's Ice Corporation. This was a Nash truck, and everyone was really happy to see this truck come around, especially from May until October, because even in 1919, there really wasn't refrigeration internally, so they needed the ice to keep things cool.
And all you had to do was dial 402.
That's right, 402. One of the most famous companies here in the valley was certainly Danish Creamery Butter. And here you can see they used mules and then they used trucks. This was on E and Inyo streets. And I love this picture because everybody wanted their car or truck taken in front of the beautiful Fresno County Courthouse. Two iconic brands right
Same
here
picture.
from Fresno.
Absolutely.
Very early. This was probably one of their first trucks that didn't have to do with livestock transporting. In the early 1900s, the ice cream industry in the valley was booming here also in the city of Fresno. In fact, Benham Ice Cream was the largest factory in California and one of the largest in the United States. This guy has definitely one of the coolest jobs in town, delivering Benham ice cream in a Vim truck. This is also a lot of fun. People are standing outside. But if it was 110, this wouldn't last very long.
There was no ACs at home.
No.
Ice cream was your way of cooling off.
That's right. Hobbs Parsons here, they're unloading eggs.
Yeah.
So we're seeing some of the industry of the valley and how things move from one to the other. This is a fun truck that you can see from 1926, the Moreland Sales Company. They were actually going from Mexico to Canada, but they wanted you to know exactly what time they were going to get to Stockton, and they had to hold on to that.
Reliability was probably not the best in those days.
No,
so
this
they were
is
trying
actually,
to tout that. Yeah.
You see 6 wheels now, so you've gotten an improvement from those wooden wheels that we saw earlier. We have to show that we had a little macaroni plant here. It was Perfection Macaroni, and if you came from an Italian family like I did, my great-grandmother would take the garbanzo beans. We've been seeing that in this episode. She put them with the macaroni, make pasta fazool. Everybody had Sunday dinner. And then, of course, my grandfather couldn't wait to have a little bit of Mata Vista Winery wine to go with that. This was Andrew Maddie, who actually founded the Maddie Building and other things. And later, this became Millet Vineyards.
Got it. Okay.
We also had a Coca-Cola bottling plant. You can see the trucks all proudly lined up.
Love that picture.
This probably was for an ad that Pop shot, 1925. And then we have to show this Lifesaver, this Peppermint Lifesavers Dodge truck from 1925, long before the Oscar Mayer Wiener, I think. And I want to end with this picture, Ryan. Okay, you can see all these Boy Scouts there. I don't think you would let Maverick and Ranger go in the back of the truck up to the mountains in something like that. But this is how transportation was all those years ago.
And all those kids, I bet, were so excited to go up the hills.
They were, and I don't think their parents worried a lot about them at all.
Absolutely. Well, Elizabeth, once again, these are absolutely spectacular photos of our valley's history. And just to get to see them in perspective of what we have today is just so amazing.
It's so different. You know, I like it when some things are the same, but there are a lot of changes in the last 100 years.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing these with us once again.
We'll see you again.
Thanks. I'm in North Fresno at Young Chefs Academy to learn about cooking with garbanzo bean recipes that your family is sure to love. With me is Chef Shayna. Shayna, thanks for having me to the Young Chefs Academy.
Thank you for joining me.
Well, tell me about this wonderful facility.
So Young Chefs Academy is a cooking school for kids. We have 2 large kitchens here. We get to have classes for kids, and we also have classes for adults as well.
This is unlike anything I've ever seen, a cooking facility for kids.
Yes, we start at age 2, in fact. Kids with parents can come in at age 2. At 3, they can be in the kitchen in classes by themselves, and we go up to 102.
That is awesome. And in today's environment, it's so important to get kids really using those fresh ingredients and being able to know what to do with them.
Yes, exactly. So our whole principle is bringing in ingredients, teaching them the difference between an onion and a clove of garlic or a bulb of garlic, and getting them really hands-on. So they're making everything, they're cutting, they're mixing, they're measuring, they're doing it all.
And that's why I'm here. I'm here to get hands-on because you have some garbanzo bean recipes that are just absolutely phenomenal, and you're going to share that with us.
Yes, today we're going to make a falafel recipe, and then we're going to make a chickpea snack as well. Both great for kids and great to have kids help you make in the kitchen.
So what do we have here?
So to make the falafel, first you're going to start off with a can of garbanzo beans. You want to rinse and drain those, and then you're going to put them right into a food processor, or you can use a blender if you don't have a food processor at home. So go ahead and fill that up. Next, you're going to add in 1 cup of chopped onions, and again, you can have your kids help you chop onions, and I like to put swim goggles on my young ones.
I do the same thing at home. So
chop those up, perfect. About 3 to 4 cloves of garlic, depending on how garlicky you like your food. I tend to be heavy on the garlic, and it has lots of good nutritional value. 2 tablespoons of chopped cilantro, as well as 2 tablespoons of chopped parsley. Another great activity for young kids to do. You can get out a practice knife or just have them chop it with their hands.
Great.
And then last is a teaspoon of cumin. You're going to put that all into the food processor, and you're going to blend it until it's well combined. Once it's all mixed together, it should be a nice dough ball, essentially. We're going to pour that into a glass bowl, and we're going to put that in the fridge for 4 hours or in the freezer for 20 to 30 minutes, just to quick chill it and let it set.
Got it, okay. That's something I wouldn't think of doing with some recipe like that, is having that quick chill, but that's going to allow you to put it in the dough balls.
Exactly. So we'll go ahead and also just make sure that it's all nice and combined. Make sure it doesn't look too sticky, and this looks pretty good. So we'll go ahead and put that in the freezer, and then we'll move on to the next step.
Great, fantastic. So it's come out of the freezer, and what do we do now?
Yes, we're gonna roll it into our falafel ball. So maybe add a little bit of flour for your fingers, and you're gonna pick up about a portion the size of a golf ball and just roll that right into a nice little falafel, and you're ready to go. I like to roll out 1 ball and test it when I fry it over the oil, and if it works, then go ahead and roll out the rest of the balls and fry the rest up. And if it maybe falls apart while you're cooking it, it just needs a little bit more flour, or maybe to chill a little bit longer, and then you're good
fantastic.
to go.
I love test cases, so let's go test this one out.
All right. So cook it for 2 to 3 minutes on one side, then you're gonna flip it over and cook it for 2 to 3 more minutes, and once it's nice and brown, then you know it's done.
So about 5 minutes total for that, and we're gonna let it cool right here. We're gonna jump to our other recipe now. So what do we have going on over here?
We're gonna do a roasted chickpea snack. It makes a nice little crunchy treat you can take on the go and eat throughout the day.
Well, fantastic. What do we do?
So for this recipe, you're gonna mix together 1 can of chickpeas along with a few spices. And today I have some cumin, ground ginger, as well as curry powder.
Okay.
And a tablespoon of olive oil. And you're gonna mix that to coat, and we're gonna roast them in the oven.
Well, great. Let's get at it. So I'm gonna help you out here. So we're gonna dump this in here.
Yep, perfect, right into the bowl. We'll add in 1 tablespoon of olive oil and just eyeball it.
I love that. That's great. That works for me.
And then our spices there, and we want to stir that all up.
Fantastic.
And then we're going to go ahead and pour that onto a lined baking dish if you want to pour that on there.
You got the liner on there already, so
Yes.
we're gonna go, I'm just gonna put it right here. Look at that, even I can cook.
Yes, you can.
So spread them out evenly there.
Yes, one even layer so that they coat evenly. You're going to put them in the oven for 30 to 40 minutes at 400 degrees. You're going to want to kind of shake them or mix them up about every 15 minutes.
Oh, good. Okay. So 2 or 3 times in the time that they're in the oven there.
Exactly.
Well, fantastic. Let's get these over to the oven then. And here you go, nice and crispy and ready to go. And simple way to plate it, you just put it into a bowl.
Exactly. Yes, it makes a nice crispy snack for kiddos. You can serve this instead of potato chips, and it's a healthier alternative.
Absolutely. Well, look at that color, just absolutely gorgeous. You do know that this is Valley's Gold, so I have to give these a try. These things just look so awesome. Just absolutely incredible. Love them. Something so simplistic that you were able to do in just a short time. I can't say enough about these.
Glad you like it.
And I'm going to jump over to now our first recipe. We're going to plate this one and give this one a try. It's had a little time to cool now.
Yes. So I like to serve it with pita or some hummus or tzatziki over some greens, and you can make a nice little pita sandwich with it and have a nice little lunch.
This is absolutely fabulous. Oh my gosh, to take something that I think for so many of us we take for granted, but we're able to do something else with the garbanzo bean.
It's a unique recipe, and I'm glad you enjoy it.
Well, thank you so much, Shayna. This has been just a fun time to learn something about an ingredient that I think is a little underestimated in the kitchen.
I agree. Well, thank you for joining me.
I appreciate it. And I hope all of you will join me next time for more Valley's Gold.
Valley's Gold is produced through a partnership between the Fresno County Farm Bureau and Valley PBS. Production funding for Valley's Gold is provided by
the Myers Water Bank and Wildlife Project, an educational outreach program working to teach students about water and wildlife issues in California. Field trips are free for all schools, and each trip's curriculum is based on learning about California water resources, valley agriculture, and native wildlife.
Everyone enjoys getting together to laugh, to talk, and mostly to eat. It sounds so simple, but the reality is that it takes a lot of hard work to feed us. The next time you sit down to eat, remember to thank our farmers, Garge Italian Incorporated since 1949 at 800-696-6108.
Heroes come in all shapes and sizes. At Brandt, our heroes are the men and women in the field, the folks who work hard to put food on our tables. Join us in celebrating the Valley's real heroes. Brandt, professional agriculture.